Hi, I'm Mike, and I'm here to show you how you can get cool looking abstract cover art for all your songs, quickly, and without a lot of hassle. Cover work is important as this is what draws people to your music. Using a photo can be good, but in some regards it also looks a little bit tacky, and having no art at all is just such a big no-no. I will be using Photoshop for this tutorial, but this can be done on multiple photo editing platforms as Photoshop Elements, Paint.net and GIMP, which are both free to use. So without further ado, let's crack on. First of all, obviously, we need to start our program, and then we're going to need to make a file the size of what we want our cover art to be. In some cases, the bigger the better, as you can always shrink it down at a later date. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to be doing that 400 pixels by 400 pixels. I think we'll give it a name. And we'll put it in the center of the screen so you can see what's going on. Now, first of all, what we need to do is just draw a gradient on. So, depending on what package you are, you'll either find a gradient tool in the menus or in the toolbar. They normally all look the same, and we're just using a standard black and white gradient. And also, make sure you've got it set to linear, so that will help. A little bit too much black. And just make the gradient until you get something you're happy with. Yeah, I think that'll do. Now, we're going to be using a bunch of filters. First of all, we'll go into Filter, Distort, and use something like Wave. And with the wave fills here, you can see it's got 3 types of wave that it can put on. I'm going to stick to the square, and you can alter the number of generators. But I'm going to leave it at its default settings. One important thing though is just make sure this repeat edge pixels is set. So what that does then, anything that gets close to the edge, it will continue, rather than you having a dark line around your picture. If you want some fun, you can click on randomize and that will alter all these settings for you, but for now we'll just stay at the default. And then after we've done that, we'll go back into the Start menu, and this time we'll go to Polar Coordinates. And as you see, this makes a nice starburst effect. And yet again, there's a couple of settings you can change to whichever you prefer. Then what we need to do is duplicate the layer. Now, we can do this a number of ways. We can do Ctrl-J, or if you look in your layers palette, at the bottom you have a number of icons. One is to create a new layer. If you just drag an existing layer over the top of it, it will automatically duplicate it. Now, the reason that we've just done that will be apparent, because if I go here and go to Overlay, and then what we need to do is go to Edit and Transform, and what we're going to do is rotate it 90 degrees. And as you see, it's kind of gives us a bloom effect, which we're going to try and work with. Yet again, go to Filter, Distort, and this time we need something like 12. Now this, you can go to the extremes if you want, get it very hypnotic. and change direction. I think try it around there. And then if you watch what happens to the actual main picture, so as you see, because we're an overlay, what it's doing is it's showing what's on the bottom layer through to what we've just done on this top layer. And it creates this nice abstract effect. So what we can then do is, if we go to layer, then just flatten the image. So we just get, if you look at the layers palette, just one image to play with. We can then create a new layer, go back to our gradient, and then we can stick some colour. And I think if we change the gradient type as well, if you just draw on your colour and do the same again, go overlay, and you get quite a nice colourised effect. I think we might actually change it to a different colour. Same again. Right, to make this look a bit more like an album cover, what we can do is, if we flatten the image, then we're gonna need to duplicate the image because it's going to be locked. Now we can turn the background image off, and as you see, we can then move the image into a corner. And if we add a new layer, and what we're going to do is fill this layer with background colour. So you need to use the paint bucket. That's normally behind the gradient tool. As you see, that fills everything black. If we just move that behind, and there's our image back on top. Now we can just move it from one side. What we are going to need to do is we transform this so we can actually make it larger. Now you may see some artifacts turning up, don't worry about this, as Photoshop will smooth it out for you. So yeah, if we just make this nice and big. And then we're going to need to rotate it as well. The rotate tool isn't coming on. Not to worry. Yeah, if we go into edit and transform, we should have a rotate option, and then we can rotate it until we get the colours that we want to come through. Yeah, I think around there somewhere. And then what we can do is just add a new layer. And then we add a new layer, select our text tool, make sure the text is in the colour that we want it, and we've got a decent font. And then we just type in the name of a band. We might need to make that a little bit bigger. Or a little bit smaller. Yeah, that should be alright. And then we can add some effects to this text as well. we'll start with doing an inner shadow. Move that away. Slacking that up a bit, and if we do a gradient overlay as well, and just make that come through a little bit more. There we go. No, I don't think we'll do that. Yep. I think if we just move that down slightly. A little bit across. And there you have it. As you can see, I think this could be used for albums, single cover art, even backgrounds. So I hope you've got something out of this tutorial, and hope to see you again. Bye bye for now.